What if I told you that the real power to change your life, to truly become who you've always wanted to be, doesn't come from some giant leap or magical moment, but from the quiet, almost invisible choices you make every single day? As the calendar turns and a new year begins, there's a familiar energy in the air. Possibility, renewal, hope. But let's be honest. How often do those New Year's resolutions fade away by February? How many times have we promised ourselves a fresh start, only to fall back into old habits? Maybe it's time to think differently. Maybe it's not about becoming someone new overnight, but about returning to timeless truths that have shaped wise and resilient people for centuries. Because the start of a new year is more than just a date. It's a doorway, a rare opportunity to step through and decide who you will become. And here's the truth. Reinvention is possible, but it doesn't come from willpower alone. It doesn't depend on motivation. And it certainly doesn't require you to overhaul your entire life in one go. It comes from habits, the small, consistent actions that, day by day, shape your future. Contextualizing with Stoic wisdom. Long before today's self-help books filled the shelves, the ancient Stoics had already unlocked this wisdom. Philosophers like Marcus, Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca lived through chaos, uncertainty, and hardship, yet they remained grounded. How? They cultivated habits rooted in clarity, discipline, and purpose. To them, a meaningful life wasn't built through grand gestures. It was created through consistent practice of enduring principles. They didn't just talk about change, they embodied it, and so can you. In this video, we'll explore 10 powerful Stoic habits that can help you reinvent yourself in 2025 and beyond. These aren't vague ideas or lofty ideals. They're practical, actionable, and designed for the messy, unpredictable reality we all live in. Whether you're struggling with anxiety, feeling lost in a noisy world, or just want to become a little better than you were yesterday, these habits are for you. Because transformation doesn't happen in a flash of inspiration. It unfolds habit by habit, day by day. So grab a notebook, settle in, and get ready. This might just be the beginning of your most powerful year yet. Start small, achieve big. Let's start with a habit that's deceptively simple, but incredibly powerful. When people think about change, they often imagine a massive overhaul, a total diet reboot, a new job, a 5 a.m. workout routine, a spiritual awakening by next Tuesday. But the Stoics knew better. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest thinkers in Stoic philosophy, once wrote, "You must build up your life action by action and be content if each one achieves its goal as far as possible." In other words, transformation is cumulative. It's not made of giant leaps. It's built from the steady rhythm of small steps, taken consistently over time. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't throw it into the ground and expect a tree by morning. You water it, you protect it, you wait, and in time it grows, quietly, steadily, powerfully. The same goes for your habits. Why starting small works and why most people get it wrong? Let's say you want to get healthier in 2025. What's your first instinct? Maybe it's cutting out all sugar, joining a gym, buying supplements, and waking up at dawn. Sounds inspiring, right? But within 2 weeks, you're exhausted. Life happens. You miss a day, then 2. Guilt sets in. You quit. Here's a better way, and what the Stoics would approve of. Start with just 10 minutes of walking a day. That's it. Just lace up your shoes and walk, rain or shine. That tiny commitment is doable. It's not intimidating, and most importantly, it builds momentum. 1 day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes a month. Then maybe you're jogging. Then you're sleeping better. Then you're eating better. And guess what? You didn't try harder. You just started smaller. This same principle applies to every part of life. Want to become more knowledgeable? Read 1 page a day. Dream of writing a book? Start with 100 words daily. In 3 months, that's 9,000 words. Want to meditate but never have time? Start with 60 seconds. 1 minute of breathing. 1 moment of clarity. Every mountain you climb starts with one step. The psychology behind small. Wins psychologically, starting small reduces resistance. The human brain craves success and fears failure. So when a task feels overwhelming, it triggers avoidance. That's why starting a novel feels impossible, but writing one paragraph doesn't. Small habits remove that mental barrier. And when you complete them, your brain gets a hit of dopamine, a win, which motivates you to keep going. It's a loop of success. And here's the secret. Most people miss. Small doesn't mean insignificant. Small means sustainable. Sustainable. Habits are what create transformation, not flashy resolutions. Visualize this. The tree that took root picture. A giant oak tree in a quiet forest. Strong, steady, unmoved by the wind. It started as something tiny, something fragile. But with time, sunlight and care, it grew. That's what your habits are. That's what your life can become. So ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? Maybe it's a journal entry, a 10-minute walk, a quiet breath. Whatever it is, do it. Then do it again tomorrow. So now you understand the power of starting small, of choosing consistent daily actions over massive, short-lived efforts. But what happens when something internal holds you back? When the weight of worry clouds your focus and fear whispers doubts at every step? That brings us to habit 2, a practice the Stoics held in especially high regard. Master your anxiety before it masters you, anxiety. It's like a storm that brews silently in the back of the mind, swirling with what-ifs, worst case, scenarios, and things beyond our control. It sneaks in quietly, sometimes so subtly we don't even realize it's shaping our decisions, our moods, our lives. Have you ever lain awake at night, mind racing through dozens of things that could go wrong tomorrow, or felt that tightness in your chest before speaking up in a meeting, even when you knew what you wanted to say? You're not alone. And the Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus, one of the most practical and profound voices in Stoicism, said it clearly: men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. It's not the situation itself that overwhelms us, it's our interpretation of it, our thoughts, our spiraling internal narratives. Perspective is power. Here's what the Stoics taught. We can't always change what happens outside of us. We can't control other people's reactions, or the future, or the unexpected turns of life. But we can change how we respond. We can control our thoughts, our choices, our habits. And that's the key to mastering anxiety. Shift your focus away from what's outside your control and bring it back to what is within your grasp, your actions, your perspective, your mindset. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine you have an important presentation at work. You've prepared, but suddenly your mind starts spiraling. What if I freeze? What if I forget everything? What if they think my ideas are terrible? Sound familiar? This kind of thinking pulls you into a future that hasn't even happened. A world of imagined failure. But there's a Stoic remedy for that. Anchor yourself to the present. Instead of chasing those anxious thoughts, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? Can you rehearse your opening line one more time? Can you take a few deep breaths to ground yourself? Can you review one key slide to boost your confidence? These small, intentional actions are how you reclaim control. They're how you anchor yourself to the present, instead of drifting into imagined chaos. Because anxiety feeds off uncertainty, but action, even the smallest kind, starves it. The power of mindfulness, ancient and modern. You might be surprised. to learn that the Stoics practiced something very similar to what we now call mindfulness. They trained themselves to stay rooted in the moment, no matter what chaos surrounded them. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's not just a quote, that's a mental tool. Every time you feel anxiety rising, return to the present. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the air moving in and out of your lungs. Say to yourself, "This moment is manageable," because almost always it is. A simple exercise, writing down the storm. Here's a powerful technique, rooted in both Stoic and modern cognitive practices. When anxiety creeps in, grab a notebook. Write down your fears, every what if, every doubt, every scenario playing in your head. Now, look at them. Really look. Often, just seeing your fears on paper makes them lose some of their power. They stop feeling like an invisible threat and become something you can face piece by piece. Next to each fear, write down one action you can take, no matter how small, to feel more in control. It could be a reminder, a preparation step, a mindset shift. Even if you can't change the situation, you've just changed your relationship to it. Progress, not perfection. Every day, a new life. Before we move to the next habit, let's return briefly to something Seneca once said: "Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life." This is about progress over perfection. It's about showing up, anxious or not, and doing what you can. Not what's perfect, just what's possible. Drink a glass of water first thing in the morning. Write one sentence in your journal. Meditate for 5 quiet minutes. It may seem small, but it's these kinds of habits, done consistently, that create real transformation over time. Think of your daily actions as drops of water falling into a jar. At first, it may seem slow, even meaningless. But over time, they add up. And one day, the jar overflows, not with water, but with strength, peace, and progress. In the last section, we explored how anxiety often stems not from reality, but from our perception of it, and how the Stoics taught us to shift from helpless worry to deliberate action. Now that we've learned to calm the storm within, it's time to create a stable structure around us, because while the mind may be the first battlefield, our daily routine is the terrain where real change takes root. Design a routine that works for you. Life is unpredictable. Chaos is inevitable. But amidst that whirlwind, your daily routine can serve as an anchor, a steady force that keeps you centered no matter what life throws your way. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that structure wasn't about controlling the external world, but about cultivating inner clarity, discipline, and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, offered this powerful advice. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. And where does that begin? With your daily habits, with how you spend your time. A routine isn't just a calendar filled with tasks. It's a carefully crafted rhythm, one that reflects your values, honors your energy, and guides your progress. It's less about cramming in productivity and more about creating intentional flow. Why routines matter more than you. Picture your life like a ship on the open sea. The waters are full of waves, deadlines, emails, social media, responsibilities, unexpected problems. Without a compass or a charted course, you're at the mercy of the waves. But a routine is your navigation system. It helps you steer with purpose. It reduces decision fatigue, the mental drain of constantly choosing what to do next. It protects your energy and turns random activity into meaningful progress. Have you ever noticed how much time gets lost in indecision? Should I work out this morning? Should I write now or later? Should I check my phone one more time? A clear routine eliminates those moments of hesitation. It gives your day a shape, a structure that allows for both focus and freedom. Routines don't mean rigidity. They mean alignment now. Let's be clear. A routine doesn't mean living like a robot or scheduling every minute. The Stoics weren't fans of perfectionism. In fact, they encouraged adaptability and self-awareness. What they valued was intentional living. So when you're designing your routine, don't copy someone else's template. Build one that works for you. Are you most focused in the morning? Schedule deep work early. Do you need movement to feel balanced? Block time for a walk or a workout. Need quiet time to reflect. Protect that space, even if it's just 10 minutes. The point isn't to follow a strict plan, but to support yourself with structure, to create habits that align with your goals and nourish your well-being. Let's bring it to life. A day with purpose. Imagine this. You wake up without rushing. You drink a glass of water. You take 5 minutes to breathe and set an intention. You review your top 3 tasks for the day. Not 10, just 3 that truly matter. You move your body. You nourish it. You protect your deep focus hours from distraction. You pause to reflect in the evening, not with guilt about what wasn't done, but with gratitude for what was. That's not about perfection. That's about purpose. That's about showing up for your life, on your terms. The Stoic philosophy of routine. The Stoics saw daily rituals as tools for training the mind, just as we train the body. Seneca wrote letters each day to reflect on his thoughts and choices. Marcus Aurelius journaled every morning, not to show the world, but to sharpen his own clarity and judgment. Epictetus reminded his students to constantly return to their principles, even in the smallest decisions. This wasn't about obsessing over routine. It was about using it as a mirror. A way to check, am I living in alignment with what I say I value? Your routine, your reality. Here's something powerful to remember. Your life isn't made up of the big moments. It's made of the small ones, the repeated ones, the way you wake up, the way you speak to yourself, the way you use your energy. So, when you design your routine, you're not just organizing your day, you're shaping your identity. You're building momentum toward the person you want to become. Closing reflection. As you step into the new year, don't aim for a perfect schedule. Aim for one that supports your clarity, your growth, and your peace. Think of your routine like the heartbeat of your day, steady, grounding, and vital. And if you ever feel thrown off course, as we all do, just return to the basics. One breath, one task, one moment of presence. That's enough to reset. Previously, we explored how a thoughtful routine can ground your day and guide your energy toward what truly matters. Now, let's take that one step further and see how a personalized routine isn't just helpful, it's transformative. Because when you take control of your schedule, you take control of your life. Build your days. With intention. Imagine this. You wake up, grab your phone, check your messages, scroll through notifications. And before you know it, you're in reactive mode. Emails, meetings, messages, distractions. You're busy all day, but feel like you've achieved nothing meaningful. Sound familiar? That's what life looks like without a routine. You drift from task to task, reacting instead of leading. Your time controls you rather than the other way around. Now, picture the opposite. Someone overwhelmed by their workload decides to make a shift. Instead of tackling the day without a plan, they start with structure. They create time blocks, protected spaces for deep work, scheduled breaks to recharge, and specific windows to handle communication and admin tasks. Suddenly, they're not just surviving their day, they're shaping it. And with that clarity, their productivity doesn't just increase, so does their peace of mind. This is the real value of a solid routine. It doesn't make you do more. It helps you do what matters most. Start with what matters most to you too. Build a routine that actually supports your life. Start by identifying your priorities. Ask yourself, What are the non-negotiable actions that align with my core values? What small practices support my long-term goals? What makes me feel most like myself? For some people, this might mean beginning the day with movement, a short workout, a walk, or stretching to wake the body. For others, it could be quiet time, journaling, meditation, or reading something inspiring. Maybe your priority is carving out 90 minutes of undistracted time for your creative work, or making sure you sit down for dinner with your family. No phones, just presence. Whatever it is, these are your anchors, the pillars of your day. The Stoics would urge you to build around these. Begin your day with purpose. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of starting each day with intention. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." That's not just poetic, it's practical. Instead of jumping straight into busyness, pause, even if just for a minute. Ask yourself, what is my purpose today? How can I act in alignment with my values? What kind of person do I want to be? Not just in theory, but in action. This short moment of reflection can transform your mindset. It brings clarity to your choices and turns your routine into a ritual, not just something you do, but something that grounds you. Work with your natural rhythm, not against it. Another critical piece of a successful routine is understanding your energy flow. We're not all wired the same way, and the Stoics would never suggest a one-size-fits-all approach. Some people are sharpest in the early morning, hitting peak focus before the sun is fully up. Others don't hit their stride until late afternoon or evening. So pay attention. When do you feel most alert, creative, or focused? When do you feel sluggish or distracted? Use this awareness to your advantage. Schedule your most demanding or high-impact tasks during your peak energy hours. Reserve low-energy tasks, like replying to emails or running errands, for those natural dips. When you align your activities with your natural rhythm, productivity becomes effortless, not forced. Flexibility, over perfection. Now, here's something crucial. Your routine should support your life, not control it. Life is unpredictable. Meetings run long. Your child gets sick. You wake up exhausted. These things happen. And if your routine is too rigid, it breaks. You feel guilty. You feel like you failed. But that's not the Stoic way. The Stoics believed in resilience and adaptability. They'd remind us that the goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. So when life throws you off track, adapt. If your morning workout gets interrupted, don't abandon the habit. Find another pocket of time. Even 10 minutes is better than zero. Build in buffer zones. Give yourself grace. The power of your routine lies in how well it bends without breaking. Practical way to start. Here's a simple exercise to help you take the first step in designing your own routine. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes to reflect and plan the next. What worked well today? What drained you? What do you want to prioritize? Tomorrow, then, sketch out your next day's structure. Block time for your top tasks, include breaks, and anchor your schedule with a morning and evening habit that supports your mindset. This small nightly habit does two powerful things. It reduces decision fatigue the next day. You wake up with clarity. It gives you a sense of agency. You chose how to spend your time, instead of being pulled in 100 directions. Closing thought, in a world full of distractions, uncertainty, and endless noise, a personalized routine becomes your safe harbor, a place where your actions align with your values. So don't strive for the perfect routine. Strive for one that feels authentic, one that brings clarity, one that supports who you're becoming. Because as the Stoics would say, a well-lived day leads to a well-lived life. So now you've seen how a well-crafted routine can be both a structure and a sanctuary, a space where your days are shaped by purpose rather than pressure. But if positive habits are the seeds that help you grow, then there's something equally important to address: the weeds. Because sometimes what holds us back isn't a lack of good habits, it's the quiet presence of bad ones. Break bad habits. Reclaim your freedom. Bad habits. They rarely start with a grand decision. They don't announce themselves with warning bells or flashing lights. Instead, they creep in subtly, disguised as harmless choices, repeated often enough to become part of the background of your daily life. At first, they feel comforting, familiar, even useful. But over time, they can quietly erode your potential. They rob you of focus, energy, and momentum. And if left unchecked, they can keep you trapped in patterns that no longer serve the person you're trying to become. The Stoics understood this deeply. To them, true freedom wasn't about doing whatever you want. It was about mastery of self. Seneca put it plainly: no man is free who is not master of himself. In other words, the habits you allow to persist, especially the unconscious ones, define you. And if a habit controls you more than you control it, your freedom is compromised. Bad habits. Silent chains. Think of bad habits like invisible chains. They're not loud, they don't hurt right away, but they restrict your movement, mentally, emotionally, and even physically, holding you back from your potential. And here's the thing: breaking free doesn't begin with punishment or guilt. It begins with awareness. That's the first step. Always. Start by asking yourself, what habits do I repeat that drain my time, focus, or energy? When I engage in them, how do I feel afterward? Do these behaviors align with who I want to be? You might notice patterns: reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, endlessly scrolling through social media, procrastinating on important tasks, or stress eating late at night. These actions aren't random. They're responses to boredom, to discomfort, to emotions we haven't fully named. Let's make it real. A practical example. Take someone who habitually scrolls social media for hours a day. They don't mean to. It just happens. They pick up their phone during a 5-minute break, and suddenly 45 minutes are gone. They feel drained, unfocused, maybe even a little guilty, and yet, tomorrow they do it again. Now, instead of labeling this person lazy or lacking willpower, let's pause and look deeper, like the Stoics would. What's the trigger? Maybe it's boredom. Maybe it's a desire to escape. Maybe it's the need to feel connected. When you identify the root cause, everything changes. Because now, instead of trying to fight the habit with sheer discipline, you can redirect it with intention. What could this person do instead when the urge strikes? Call a friend for 5 minutes, step outside and take a short walk. Jot down an idea in a journal. Listen to a podcast that inspires them. Breaking a habit isn't just about stopping something. It's about replacing it with something more aligned with your values. Why abrupt stopping rarely works? Here's where many people go wrong. They try to quit a habit cold turkey without examining the why or creating a replacement. This often leads to frustration and relapse. But the Stoics would advise us to go deeper, to be gentle but firm, to observe without judgment, to guide ourselves like a wise mentor, not a harsh critic. The key isn't to create a void, it's to fill the space with something more meaningful. Every habit you let go of should be paired with one that lifts you up. Name it, understand it, replace it. Here's a simple 3-step process that reflects Stoic thinking. Name the habit. Bring it into conscious awareness. What is it exactly? When does it happen? Understand the trigger. What emotion, situation, or thought precedes it? Replace it with purpose. What action could serve the same need, but in a healthier way? Let's say you tend to overeat late, at night. Ask yourself, am I really hungry? Or am I anxious, lonely, or just tired? Maybe you need rest, not food. Maybe what you're really craving is comfort or connection. Once you see the truth of a habit, its grip weakens, because now you're aware. And awareness is power. freedom through self-mastery. At its core, breaking bad habits is not about perfection. It's about progress toward freedom. It's about reclaiming control over your decisions, one small choice at a time. The Stoics believed that the greatest victory isn't over others. It's over yourself. That to master your impulses is to walk the path of wisdom. And that wisdom shows up in the tiny moments. Choosing not to scroll. Choosing to pause before reacting. Choosing a glass of water over a sugary snack. Choosing presence over autopilot. Closing thought. So, as you reflect on the habits that fill your day, ask yourself, which ones are leading me forward? And which ones are quietly pulling me back? Breaking a bad habit may not happen overnight, but every small act of awareness is a crack in its armor. Every intentional choice is a step toward freedom. Because in the words of the Stoics, true strength lies in ruling yourself. So we've uncovered how breaking bad habits is really about reclaiming your freedom, not through force, but through awareness, intention, and replacement. But awareness alone isn't enough. To truly unhook from a habit, you need strategy. You need tools. Because once you've named the habit, the next question is, what now? Replace the old with something better. The Stoics didn't believe in simply eliminating behaviors. They believed in redirecting energy towards something useful, something constructive. If you're trying to stop procrastinating, for example, don't focus on the finish line. That can feel overwhelming, even paralyzing. Instead, zoom in on the very first step. Rather than thinking, I have to complete this entire project, shift your inner dialogue to something more approachable. I'll just work on this for 10 minutes. That's it. Just 10 minutes. Why does this work? Because it lowers the resistance. It gets you moving, and once you're in motion, momentum builds. Suddenly, what felt impossible becomes manageable. The Stoics understood the power of action, not just grand gestures, but small, purposeful movements that pull you forward. Change your environment, change your behavior. Another powerful way to break bad habits. Adjust your environment. We often think of willpower as an internal battle, but the truth is, your surroundings either support or sabotage your success. Let's say you're trying to eat healthier. What's in your kitchen? If it's stocked with chips, cookies, and soda, you're setting yourself up for temptation every time you open a cabinet. But if your fridge is filled with nourishing options, fresh fruits, vegetables, clean proteins, you're making it easier to succeed. The same goes for digital habits. Trying to stop binge watching shows late into the night, set a timer to shut off your devices at a certain hour. Move the TV out of your bedroom. Put your phone across the room instead of on your pillow. These aren't extreme measures. They're intentional choices that make the right actions easier and the wrong ones harder. The Stoics might call this engineering your virtue. You're not relying on force. You're setting the stage for success. Be kind to yourself. When you slip now, here's something most people overlook. And the Stoics would insist on self-forgiveness. Breaking a habit is not a straight line. It's more like a winding road with detours, pauses, and sometimes U-turns. And that's okay. Even Marcus Aurelius, one of the most disciplined minds in history, wrote, "When you stumble, get back up. What matters most is how quickly you recover. You're human. You will slip. You will have days when you fall back into the very habit you're trying to break. The key is to not stay there. Don't dwell. Don't spiral into self-blame. Instead, reflect on what triggered the slip and then take the next right step. That's progress. That's growth." Another common habit, negative self-talk. Let's explore one more scenario, something so many people struggle with, yet rarely name: negative self-talk. You make a mistake, you forget something, you miss a deadline, and suddenly that voice in your head says, "I'm not good enough, I always mess things up." Sound familiar? This internal dialogue can be one of the most destructive habits of all. And just like any habit, it can be rewired. Here's how. Next time you catch that voice tearing you down, interrupt it. Replace the thought. Try something like, mistakes are part of learning. I'm improving with each step I take. This doesn't define me. It teaches me. At first, these affirmations might feel awkward or unconvincing, but the more you say them, the more your brain starts to believe them. Over time, this shift changes your inner world, from criticism to compassion, from defeat to confidence. Try this practical exercise. Let's put this into action with a simple but powerful exercise. Identify one bad habit you want to break. Write down the trigger. What situation, emotion, or thought sets it off? Describe the behavior. What exactly do you do? List the consequences. How does this habit affect your life, goals, or mindset? Brainstorm a healthier replacement habit, something that fulfills the same need but in a positive way. Plan how to implement the replacement. What time, place, or tool will you use to make the switch easier? Example. Trigger. Feeling stressed. Habit. Eating junk food. Consequence. Low energy, guilt, poor health. Replacement. Go for a 10-minute walk or drink a glass of water. Implementation. Keep walking shoes by the door and a full water bottle on your desk. This exercise brings clarity. It turns vague intentions into a real strategy. Consistency is what rewires the brain. And finally, don't forget, repetition is everything. The more often you choose the replacement habit, the stronger that neural pathway becomes. Your brain starts to crave that behavior instead. Over time, the old habit loses power, and the new one becomes second nature. Think of it like pulling weeds from a garden. At first, it's tedious. It feels like you're not making progress. But as you keep clearing and start planting better seeds, more meaningful, nourishing habits, you begin to see change, growth, even beauty. Eventually, those old weeds stop coming back, because now your garden is thriving. Closing, reflection, breaking. Bad habits isn't just about removing the bad. It's about making room for something better. So as you move forward, ask yourself, what triggers my habits? What do I really need in those moments? And what can I do, even in a small way, to change the script? The Stoics would remind us, freedom is not found in indulging every urge. It's found in mastering them. As we've just seen, breaking free from bad habits is less about punishment and more about empowerment. It's the steady reclaiming of your freedom, moment by moment, choice by choice. But once you begin clearing out what holds you back, another question naturally follows. What will you fill that space with? And that brings us to one of the most essential Stoic practices of all. Make time for what truly matters. We live in an age of constant noise, an endless scroll of distractions, obligations, and digital demands. From the moment we wake up to the moment we try to rest, we're bombarded with things to do, places to be, and messages begging for our attention. And yet, at the end of the day, many of us lie in bed wondering, did I actually spend my time on what really mattered? The Stoics warned us about this. They believed time was the most precious resource we have. Not money, not fame, not even health. Time. Because once it's gone, it's gone. Seneca put it bluntly. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. It's a wake-up call, one that asks us to stop, look around, and evaluate how we're really using our days. Are you spending or squandering time? Let's be honest. How often do you catch yourself scrolling your phone without even thinking? Watching video after video? Clicking from one tab to the next? Getting stuck in endless to-do lists that aren't aligned with your real goals? Now, none of these things are bad in isolation. We all need breaks, entertainment, and breathing room. But the danger lies in autopilot, in letting trivial tasks and shallow distractions consume hours that could have been invested in something far deeper: your growth, your relationships, your purpose. Start with awareness. The first step to making time for what truly matters is awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. So pause and reflect. What actually brings fulfillment to your life? What activities leave you feeling energized, connected, or proud? And on the flip side, what drains you? What feels urgent but isn't really important? This self-inquiry isn't a luxury, it's essential. It's how you start designing your life instead of just reacting to it. A simple example. Picture someone who spends an hour or two each night mindlessly scrolling through social media. Again, nothing wrong with a little downtime, but if that time leaves them feeling empty or anxious, is it really serving them? Now imagine using even a portion of that time to connect with a loved one. Read a book that stretches your thinking, or work on a personal goal. Suddenly, that hour becomes meaningful. It becomes a step forward. It's not about cutting out all leisure. It's about being deliberate. Define your priorities and let them guide you so what truly matters to you. Is it deepening your connection with your family? Is it pursuing a creative passion? Is it developing your mind, your body, your spiritual health? Whatever it is, write it down. Make it real. Let those values act as your compass when making decisions about your time. Because here's the truth. You don't find time for what matters. You make it. You carve it out. You protect it. You prioritize it, even when it's inconvenient. Eliminate what doesn't serve you. The next step is to reduce, not eliminate entirely, the distractions that pull you away from your values. This doesn't mean living like a monk or cutting out all joy. The Stoics weren't against pleasure. They were against wasting your life on things that don't matter. For example, turn off your phone notifications during dinner. Block out a daily hour for uninterrupted deep work. Schedule a weekly walk with a friend and protect that time. Use screen-limiting tools to avoid the digital rabbit holes. These small boundaries add up. They create space for the things that enrich your life instead of draining it. A Stoic reminder about mortality. Marcus Aurelius offered a stark but grounding truth. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This isn't meant to scare us. It's meant to clarify our choices. When you live with an awareness of life's impermanence, you begin to treat time with reverence. You stop wasting it on things that don't align with your values. You start showing up fully for the things that do. So ask yourself honestly, if today were my last day, would I be proud of how I spent it? Let that question guide your time like a lantern in the dark. A practical exercise. Conduct a time audit. Here's a helpful practice you can try this week. For the next 7 days, track how you spend your time. You don't need a complicated spreadsheet. A simple journal or notes app will do. Break your day into blocks and jot down what you did in each one. At the end of each day, ask, what activities gave me energy? What felt like a waste of time? What would I like to do more or less of tomorrow? This audit isn't about guilt, it's about clarity. It's about finding the hidden pockets of time you didn't realize were available and choosing to use them more intentionally. Closing reflection. The Stoics knew that how you spend your time is how you spend your life. So as you move through your day, pause once in a while. Ask yourself, is this helping me become the person I want to be? Because in the end, the goal isn't to be busy. The goal is to be intentional, to live with depth, to invest your time like it's the most precious thing you own. Because it is. So far, we've talked about reclaiming your time and realigning it with what truly matters. By tracking how you spend your days, you begin to uncover hidden hours, moments you can redirect toward your passions, your relationships, and your purpose. But time, even when well spent, isn't the full picture of growth, because real transformation happens not only in how we spend our time, but how we respond to challenge, take on challenges that shape you. Let's face it, growth isn't comfortable. We all crave ease, stability, and predictability, but comfort rarely pushes us to evolve. In fact, it often lulls us into stagnation. The Stoics understood that challenge isn't something to avoid, it's something to engage with. To them, life's hardships weren't roadblocks. They were training grounds. Epictetus, a former slave-turned-philosopher, said it with clarity. Difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Challenges test our limits. But more importantly, they reveal our capacity. Strength we didn't know we had. Clarity we hadn't yet earned. Resilience waiting beneath the surface. The power of discomfort. Think back for a moment to a challenge you've faced. Something that stretched you. Maybe it was leading a project under pressure. Maybe it was a hard conversation you'd been avoiding. Maybe it was running a marathon, learning a new skill, or rebuilding after a setback. Whatever it was, remember how it felt at the start. Overwhelming, even impossible. But then, step by step, you moved through it. You figured things out. You showed up even when it was hard. And when it was done, you weren't just proud. You were different, stronger, more certain of what you could handle. That's the gift of challenge. It transforms you in a way comfort never could. Challenges aren't about struggle for its own sake. Let's be clear. Embracing challenges doesn't mean seeking out hardship for the sake of hardship. This isn't about suffering for pride. It's about choosing the path of growth, especially when it's uncomfortable. Think of someone who's terrified of public speaking. They avoid presentations at all costs. But one day, they volunteer, heart pounding, voice shaky. The speech isn't perfect, but it's done. And afterward, something shifts. Confidence begins to take root. That one act of courage leads to another. And soon, the thing they once feared becomes a skill they carry with pride. That's how growth works, not in massive leaps, but in brave decisions repeated over time. Discomfort is a mirror. The Stoics believed that challenges act like a mirror. They reflect back not just who you are, but who you could be. When life gets hard, do you shut down or stand tall? When things don't go your way, do you complain or adapt? Every challenge is a chance to build your inner architecture, the strength, patience, and clarity that lasts long after the moment has passed. And without these trials, we remain undeveloped, potential locked away, never tested, never realized. Real-life application. Start small, but start. Not every challenge has to be massive. You don't need to climb Everest to grow. Sometimes it's as simple as having that awkward but necessary conversation, or choosing to tackle a project you've been avoiding, or pushing through those final reps at the gym when everything in you wants to quit. The goal isn't to be fearless, it's to be willing. Here's a practical exercise to try. Think of one area in your life where you're playing small because it's safe. Now ask yourself, what challenge have I been avoiding? What's one small step I can take to face it? What could I learn or gain by leaning into this? Then, take that first step. Just one. Maybe it's pitching your idea at the next meeting. Maybe it's signing up for that class. Maybe it's simply speaking your truth. Whatever it is, face it like a Stoic, not with dread, but with curiosity and courage. Why the Stoics embraced difficulty to the Stoics, obstacles weren't interruptions. They were invitations. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the thing you're avoiding. That's the path. Every challenge you take on becomes part of your training, shaping you into a person who is not only resilient, but ready. Ready for uncertainty. Ready for adversity. ready for a life of purpose. Closing. Reflection. Growth isn't born in comfort. It's forged in challenge. So the next time you're tempted to stay in the familiar, the easy, the routine, pause. Ask yourself, is this choice moving me forward or just keeping me safe? Because somewhere on the other side of discomfort is the version of you that you're meant to become, and you won't find them by standing still. In the last habit, we explored how challenges can be stepping stones to your greatest growth. Not obstacles to avoid, but invitations to become stronger, more capable, more you. Now, let's dig deeper into how to approach these challenges with intention, so they become opportunities, not sources of fear. Embrace challenges that shape. You stepping into the unknown can feel like walking straight into fire. Your heart races, doubt creeps in. Every part of you screams for safety, and yet, something inside, something deeper, knows this is exactly where you're meant to go, because it's in the fire that the steel is forged. And when you prepare well, when you face fear with action, the discomfort becomes your training ground. Take public speaking, for example. At first, the mere idea might terrify you. But with every small presentation, every practice run, you chip away at that fear. Eventually, it doesn't just become bearable. It becomes a skill, a strength, a door to new opportunities in both your personal and professional life. That's the power of preparation. That's the transformation born through experience. Start. Small, but start. Intentionally facing a challenge doesn't mean leaping headfirst into the deep end. In fact, the Stoics would advise quite the opposite. Start small, but make it meaningful. Let's say you want to improve your fitness. You don't need to sign up for a triathlon tomorrow. Instead, commit to a 15-minute walk each day. That single act of movement becomes a gateway, a signal to your body and your mind that you're ready to grow. Or maybe you're aiming for professional development. Don't wait for the perfect role to appear. Take on a new responsibility, even if it intimidates you at first. Growth comes not from being ready, but from becoming ready through action. Each challenge builds your resilience. Here's the truth. Every challenge you face doesn't just build skill, it builds resilience. Marcus Aurelius captured it perfectly. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the obstacle isn't in the way. It is the way. That thing you've been avoiding. That's where your next breakthrough lies. Each challenge is like a repetition in the gym. It may feel heavy, but it strengthens you. Each time you push through, you become more capable of handling the next. And before long, what once seemed difficult becomes second nature. A simple exercise to embrace challenges. Here's a practical way to apply this right now. Write down one thing you've been avoiding, something that feels uncomfortable, intimidating, or simply too much. Break it into smaller, doable steps. For example, challenge, running a 5K race. Step 1, jog for 5 minutes every other day. Step 2, gradually increase to 10 minutes. Step 3, set a 4-week training schedule with small, steady goals. Step 4, register for a local race to stay accountable. When you break down a big challenge, it stops being a mountain and becomes a trail, one you can walk step by step. Reframe the challenge. Shift your perspective. Another Stoic technique, reframing. When a challenge arises, the default question is often, why is this happening to me? But the Stoics offer a more powerful lens. What can I learn from this? This shift in mindset turns pain into purpose. Instead of resisting the situation, you begin to see the value it might offer, the lesson hidden in the struggle. For instance, losing a job might initially feel like failure, but what if it's a redirection? A chance to pursue a role that's better aligned with your values and passions? What if, instead of closing doors, this challenge is guiding you to the right one? A real-life example. growth through courage. Let's imagine someone who's always been shy, someone who deeply craves connection but struggles to initiate conversation. To them, the idea of approaching a stranger is daunting, but they commit to a simple challenge: start one conversation a day. At first, it feels awkward. There are stumbles, uncomfortable silences. But slowly, something changes. Confidence starts to bloom. Their social skills sharpen. Their courage grows. And before long, that same person who once feared small talk is building meaningful relationships with ease. What started as a fear became a strength, all because they were willing to try. Challenges. Reveal who you are. The Stoics remind us that struggle isn't something to hide from, it's something to respect. Seneca once said, "The bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. Because when you rise to meet your challenges, you prove something to yourself. You discover just how capable you truly are." And that self-discovery becomes a wellspring of confidence, a source of strength that fuels you for whatever comes next. Picture the climb. Think of challenges like climbing a mountain. The incline is steep. Your legs burn. The summit seems far, but with every step, the view expands. The air becomes clearer, and eventually, you look back and realize just how far you've come. That's what challenge does. It elevates you, not just in skill, but in spirit. Closing thought. So the next time you face something that scares you, pause. Take a breath and say, "This is hard, and that's okay. This is where I grow." Then take the first step. Because you don't need to leap all at once. You just need to begin. One bold, imperfect step at a time. As we discovered in the last habit, challenges aren't just obstacles. They're catalysts for growth. Each step you take into discomfort builds not only your resilience, but also your transformation. But here's something just as crucial. You don't grow alone. Because the environment around you, especially the people you let into your life, can either accelerate that growth or quietly sabotage it. Surround yourself with people who elevate you. Who you spend time with matters more than you might realize. Every conversation, every shared moment, every silent influence has the power to either pull you forward or hold you back. The Stoics understood this well. To them, your environment wasn't just about physical surroundings. It was about the people you let close. Seneca said it clearly and wisely. Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. This is more than a quote. It's a principle for life. Surround yourself with people who inspire you to rise, who challenge you to be better, who support your journey and share your values. Because when your circle reflects your higher self, they help you become your higher self. Relationships as mirrors and catalysts. Think of your circle like a mirror. A good one reflects back your strengths, even when you forget them. It shows you your potential, not just your past. But a powerful circle doesn't only reflect, it elevates. The right people help you see beyond your limits. They push you when you hesitate, call you out when you drift, and cheer you on when you rise. Now ask yourself, what do my current relationships reflect back to me? Are they encouraging my growth, or are they reinforcing my fears, doubts, or bad habits? This isn't about judgment or instant disconnection. It's about awareness. It's about being intentional with the energy you allow into your world. Energy. Drainers versus energy builders. Imagine this. You're working hard toward a goal. Maybe it's launching a new business, writing a book, or improving your health. Now picture two different friends. One constantly complains, criticizes, or shrugs off your dreams with, "That's too hard. Why bother?" The other checks in, encourages you, and says, "I believe in you." What's your next step? Which of those conversations fuels your fire? Which one dims it? One drains your energy. The other builds it. That's the difference between toxic and nourishing support. And over time, it adds up. Your environment influences your habits, and your habits shape your life. Choose wisely. Growth doesn't require perfection, just alignment now. Surrounding yourself with elevating people doesn't mean seeking out only those who are wildly successful or years ahead of you. Some of the most meaningful relationships come from those walking beside you. People who understand your struggles, share your values, and celebrate your victories, no matter how small. It could be a co-worker aiming for a similar promotion, a friend also pursuing wellness, a peer starting their own creative project. Mutual growth fosters momentum, and momentum creates results. How to find your circle? Be proactive. If you're not surrounded by these kinds of people yet, don't worry, they're out there. But you may need to go find them. Join a mastermind group. Attend workshops or meetups aligned with your interests. Start a personal growth book club. Connect with online communities built around your goals. Remember, shared values are the foundation of meaningful connection. When you're in a space where people care about the same things you do, progress, integrity, mindset, you feel seen, supported, and inspired to keep going. The Stoic spirit of contribution. The Stoics also believed that relationships should never be one-sided. As Seneca advised, be helpful to others in your time of abundance, for in their time of need, you may find your own opportunity to learn. It's not just about what you get from others, it's about what you give. Support your circle. Offer your perspective. Celebrate their successes as if they were your own. Share your struggles openly. Encourage someone else who's just starting out. In doing so, you create a bond built on trust, respect, and shared growth, a foundation that's far more powerful than mere networking. A practical exercise. Evaluate your circle. Here's a simple but eye-opening exercise you can do right now. Ask yourself 3 questions about the people you spend the most time with. Who inspires and motivates me to grow? Who challenges me constructively, pushing me outside my comfort zone? Who drains my energy or consistently pulls me away from my values and goals? Now take action. For those who inspire and challenge you, invest more time. Nurture those connections. Express gratitude. Deepen the bond. For those who drain or distract you, it may be time to set boundaries, not with harshness, but with clarity. Redirect your energy toward relationships that elevate you. Let's consider an example. Imagine someone working toward building their own business. If they surround themselves with like-minded entrepreneurs, people who offer feedback, celebrate progress, and brainstorm solutions, their journey becomes not only doable, but exciting. Now picture the opposite. They're surrounded by skeptics. People who say things like, you should just get a real job, or that'll never work. Which path sounds more sustainable? Which one leads to growth? Your circle can either be your fuel or your friction. Closing reflection. Seneca once compared our relationships to the soil a plant is rooted in. Fertile, nourishing relationships help you grow. Toxic ones slowly poison your progress. So be deliberate. Choose wisely. Tend to your relationships like a garden. Surround yourself with those who see your highest self and aren't afraid to remind you of it when you forget, because you are not meant to grow alone. In the last habit, we explored how the people around you can either nourish your growth or quietly limit it. And the beauty is, unlike a tree rooted in one place, you have the power to choose your circle and shape your environment. But as we build this life of purpose and intention, there's something else we must learn to navigate with strength and grace: change. Because in life, the only thing more constant than your habits is change itself. Embrace change as a catalyst for growth change. It's one of life's only guarantees. Yet somehow, no matter how often it arrives, it always seems to catch us off guard. We resist it, we fear it, we mourn the comfort of what was, But the Stoics saw change through a different lens, not as a threat, but as an essential part of becoming. To them, change wasn't something to fight, it was something to flow with. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accept the nature of the universe with love." It's a gentle yet powerful reminder. Life isn't static. The seasons shift. People come and go. Circumstances evolve, and so must we. Why do we resist what is inevitable? Think about it. Have you ever faced a change that you initially resisted, only to later realize it was exactly what you needed? Maybe you lost a job and felt crushed, only to find a career path more aligned with your true passions. Or maybe a relationship ended, and while the pain lingered, it gave you space to reconnect with yourself, to heal, and to grow. In the moment, these changes feel like endings, but more often than not, they're actually beginnings. From resistance to reframing, this first step to embracing change is to shift your mindset. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" This single question transforms chaos into clarity. It opens a doorway from pain into purpose. Because the truth is, every change carries a message, an opportunity to expand, evolve, and elevate who you are. A life transition. Let's say you're moving to a new city, far from everything familiar. At first, it's overwhelming. The streets are unfamiliar. Your routine is disrupted. Friends are now distant faces on a screen. But slowly, if you lean in instead of resisting, something shifts. You discover a new favorite cafe. You meet people with fresh perspectives. You realize that discomfort was just the beginning of discovery. That's the gift of change. It reveals what we would never have seen if we stayed still. The Stoic approach to flexibility. The Stoics also emphasize the value of flexibility. In a world constantly in motion, rigidity becomes your enemy. Epictetus said, "The flourishing life cannot be achieved until we moderate our desires and see how things are, rather than how we wish them to be. It's human nature to want things, to stay the same, predictable, comfortable within our control. But clinging to what was blinds us to what could be. Flexibility doesn't mean giving up. It means adapting with grace. It means moving forward with the current, not against it. It means adjusting your sails rather than cursing the wind." Practical wisdom. How to embrace change. Here's a simple exercise you can try. Identify a recent or current change in your life, big or small. Write down your initial reaction to it. What you feared, what you lost, what you resisted. Now ask, what potential opportunity is hidden within this change? What new strength is it calling me to develop? What might I gain that I couldn't have before? Reflect on this. You might be surprised by what you uncover. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. Let's not pretend change is always easy. Even positive changes, new jobs, new relationships, exciting risks can bring anxiety and uncertainty. And that's okay. The Stoics never said we had to enjoy every change, only that we had to accept it, to meet it with open eyes and steady breath. To say, "I may not have chosen this, but I will choose how I respond." That choice, that ownership, is where your power lies. Change is the soil. Where growth happens, picture a forest in autumn. Leaves fall. Trees look bare, even lifeless, but beneath the surface, roots deepen, soil renews, and come spring, something new begins to blossom. Something that couldn't have bloomed unless the old had been let go. That's what change does for us. It clears, renews, and prepares us for what's next. Closing reflection, so the next time change comes, as it inevitably will, don't shrink away from it. Don't label it as good or bad too quickly. Instead, pause and ask, what is this here to teach me? because you were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to evolve, and change is the catalyst that shapes you into who you're becoming. In the previous habit, we uncovered how change, even when uncomfortable, can be a powerful teacher. When you shift your mindset and choose to embrace change rather than resist it, you open yourself up to growth, to possibility, and to a stronger version of yourself. But there's another habit just as essential in today's fast-paced, always connected world. A habit that protects your time, your energy, and your peace. And it starts with one small word: no. Learn the power of saying no in a world that constantly demands more output, more availability, more yeses. The ability to say no has become a rare and radical act of self-preservation. It's easy to believe that saying yes to everything makes us more helpful, more liked, or more successful. But the Stoics saw it differently. They understood that your time and energy are finite, and if you don't protect them, they'll be consumed by the priorities of everyone else. Learning to say no isn't about being cold or selfish. It's about clarity. It's about boundaries. It's about choosing what truly matters and letting go of what doesn't. Stoic wisdom on discernment Epictetus put it simply and powerfully. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. This isn't a call to ignore others or shut down opportunities. It's a challenge to resist the pull of appearances, to stop saying yes just to look nice, busy, or important. You don't owe your time to every request. You don't have to please everyone. And you certainly don't have to say yes just because you can. By saying no to what distracts or depletes you, you create space for what nourishes and elevates you. Real-life scenario: the overloaded professional. Let's imagine someone who's already managing multiple projects at work. Their plate is full: deadlines, meetings, personal obligations, and then a colleague asks them to take on just one more thing. In the moment, saying yes feels easier. It avoids conflict. It looks good. But beneath the surface, that one extra task could come at a cost. Stress, burnout, slipping quality on the things that actually matter most. Now imagine if, instead, they paused and asked, does this align with my priorities right now? Do I have the bandwidth to do this well, without compromising my other responsibilities? If the honest answer is no, then a respectful, thoughtful decline isn't rude. It's wise, because when you protect your focus, you honor your commitments more fully. Saying no, saying yes to what matters, it's helpful to reframe what no really means. You're not just rejecting something, you're choosing something better. Saying no to late-night emails, you're saying yes to rest and mental clarity. Saying no to a social event that drains you, you're saying yes to recovery and self-care. Saying no to a project that isn't aligned with your goals, you're saying yes to deeper progress on what actually matters. Every no is a boundary, and every boundary is a line of respect for yourself, your energy, and your vision. The guilt of saying no, and how to let it go. One of the biggest obstacles to saying no is the fear of disappointing others. You want to be liked. You don't want to seem selfish. You don't want to burn bridges. But here's a truth the Stoics would want you to remember. Your worth is not measured by how much you sacrifice yourself for others. You can still be kind and compassionate while honoring your limits. you can still support others without abandoning your own priorities. Learning to say no with grace, not guilt, is one of the highest forms of self-respect. Try this practical exercise. Here's a simple but eye-opening reflection you can try. Today, think of a recent situation where you said yes, but didn't really want to. Ask yourself, why did I say yes? What did it cost me? Time, energy, peace. How might I handle a similar situation differently next time? Now practice a no statement that feels honest and respectful. Something like, thank you for thinking of me, but I won't be able to take this on right now. I'm focusing on a few key projects and don't have the capacity to commit fully. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And over time, the guilt begins to fade, replaced by confidence and clarity. Your no sets you free. The Stoics believed that a disciplined life leads to inner freedom, and that freedom often starts with learning to say no to distractions, to obligations that don't serve you, to the temptation of saying yes when your soul is whispering no, because every time you choose alignment over approval, you reclaim your power. Closing reflection, so the next time a request or invitation comes your way, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my goals, values, and energy right now? Am I saying yes from a place of intention, or from fear, guilt, or habit? Then respond with honesty, with kindness, and with courage. Because learning to say no isn't about shutting others out, it's about showing up more fully, for yourself, and for what matters most. So far, we've explored the power of saying no, not as rejection, but as redirection. Each time you protect your time and energy with intention, you strengthen your sense of control, clarity, and peace. But learning to say no doesn't stop with external demands. It also applies to the inner distractions, habits, and thought patterns that quietly pull us away from who we want to become, because what you say no to shapes what you're truly saying yes to. Saying no is a form of self-respect. Let's revisit a common moment. A friend invites you to a gathering after a long week. You're running on empty, craving stillness, not stimulation. But the thought of disappointing someone or missing out makes you hesitate. Here's the truth the Stoics would want you to remember. Saying no in moments like this isn't selfish. It's wise. By choosing to rest, recharge, and respect your limits, you're honoring not only yourself, but those around you. Because when you take care of your needs first, you show up more fully, more present, more intentional in the moments that truly matter. The Stoic lens, control what you can. Marcus Aurelius reminded us. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This idea lies at the core of Stoic thinking. You can't control every request, every distraction, or every opinion, but you can control your response. You can choose where your energy goes, and saying no is one of the simplest yet most powerful expressions of that choice. Make saying no easier with clear, respectful communication. Saying no doesn't have to be harsh or awkward. It can be warm, kind, and respectful, while still being firm. For example, instead of just saying, I can't, try, I really appreciate the invite, but I need to prioritize rest tonight. I'd love to be involved, but I'm currently focused on other responsibilities. That sounds great, but I'm at capacity right now. Maybe another time. These responses set clear boundaries without burning bridges. Over time, this style of communication becomes second nature, and people begin to respect you more, not less, for your clarity. Build the habit, a simple reflection. Exercise. Here's a practical exercise to help strengthen this habit. Write down 3 things you've recently said yes to that didn't truly align with your values or priorities. Reflect. Why did I say yes? Was it obligation, fear of judgment, or just habit? Then ask, how could I have politely said no instead? This reflection helps you uncover patterns and gives you a script for future situations, because the more aware you become, the more confident you'll feel in honoring your boundaries. A real-life example, the overwhelmed student. Let's take a relatable scenario. A student is juggling schoolwork, extracurriculars, part-time work, and social commitments. Everything feels urgent. Every yes feels necessary, until suddenly they're drowning. They've said yes to every club meeting, every group hangout, every extra assignment, but now they're exhausted, burned out, falling behind. The shift begins when they start saying no, not to everything, but to what doesn't serve their priorities. They skip a late-night party before an exam. They opt out of a committee that doesn't align with their goals. They carve out time for sleep, study, and sanity. Each no becomes an act of self-care, a step toward balance, a reclaiming of focus. Don't forget the internal. No saying no isn't just about other people. It's also about the voice inside your head. That voice that says, scroll a little longer. You can start tomorrow. You're not good enough, so why try? These thoughts are internal distractions, and they're just as important to confront. Saying no to procrastination, overthinking, and self-doubt is how you redirect your mind toward growth, progress, and purpose. Chatint, tree metaphor, prune to thrive. Think of your time and energy like the branches of a tree. Left unchecked, the tree becomes overgrown, tangled, heavy, and weighed down by unnecessary limbs. But when you prune away what's unnecessary, distractions, draining obligations, old habits, the tree flourishes. It becomes stronger, more vibrant, more alive. Your life is the same. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you create space for what does. The power of the pause. The next time you feel pulled in too many directions, stop and ask, is this worth my time and energy? Does this align with my values, my goals, and the life I want to build? If the answer is no, give yourself full permission to decline, with kindness, with strength, without apology. Closing. Reflection. Saying no isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's not about shutting out opportunity, it's about choosing where to invest your limited and precious energy. So, prune your schedule, protect your peace, and remember, every no clears the path for a deeper, more focused, more fulfilling yes. So far, we've explored the power of saying no, not as a rejection, but as a redirection toward what truly matters. But no matter how well you manage your time or protect your energy, life will still find ways to test you. Setbacks are inevitable. The real measure of growth isn't avoiding failure, it's how you rise after the fall. Bounce back. Stronger life will knock you down, that's a guarantee. But the Stoics believed that every fall holds a gift, the chance to come back wiser, stronger, and more resilient. Setbacks, they taught us, aren't the end. They're turning points. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, obstacles don't block your path. They are the path. The moment you face resistance is the moment you start building real strength. Setback or set up? It's up to you. Imagine an entrepreneur launching a new business with passion and purpose. Things don't go as planned. The product doesn't take off. Revenue falls short. Partners pull out. It feels devastating at first, but instead of giving up, they pause and reflect. They review what went wrong. Maybe the marketing didn't connect, or they misunderstood their target audience. Now they refine their approach and try again, this time better prepared. The failure wasn't the end, it was a teacher. Resilience. Built through repetition, resilience doesn't mean never struggling. It means learning how to respond when you do. Think of it like training a muscle. Every challenge is resistance training for your mind. The more you practice recovery, the easier it becomes to rise. Over time, Setbacks don't derail you. They redirect you, shift your perspective on failure. The first step in bouncing back is a mental shift. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" For example, let's say you didn't get the job you wanted. It stings. Of course it does. But what if that no pushes you to improve your resume, sharpen your interview skills, or expand your network? Suddenly, the setback becomes a setup for future success. Break big problems into smaller steps. Big failures can feel overwhelming. The weight of everything that went wrong might leave you paralyzed. But progress begins with a single small step. Imagine a student who fails a major exam. They're discouraged, questioning their abilities. But instead of spiraling, they create a simple study plan. Review one topic a day. Ask for help on difficult concepts. Schedule regular practice sessions. Each step rebuilds momentum. And with time, confidence returns. Be patient with the process. Seneca once wrote, "Time heals what reason cannot." Sometimes bouncing back takes more than action. It takes space. Space to feel, to grieve, to process. It's okay to feel disappointed. It's okay to feel lost. But what matters is that you don't stay stuck there. You give yourself permission to heal and then move forward. Think of nature and yourself like a tree picture, a tree battered by a storm. Branches break, leaves are stripped away, but beneath the surface, its roots dig deeper, stronger. Next, season. It doesn't just survive, it thrives. You are the same. Every setback can deepen your roots, making you more grounded, more prepared for whatever comes next. A practical exercise to help you rebuild. Next time life hits hard, try this simple exercise. Write down 3 things you've learned from the experience. Write down one positive action you can take today to move forward. Example: setback, missed an important deadline. Lessons: need better time management, clearer priorities, fewer distractions. Next step: create a weekly schedule with buffer time for unexpected tasks. This process shifts your focus from what went wrong to what you can do next. Closing reflection: life's challenges aren't detours, they're direction. Every time you rise from failure, you rewrite the story of who you are becoming. Every time you get back up, you build a little more strength, a little more clarity, a little more resilience. So don't fear the fall. Welcome the lesson and rise, stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever before. As we just explored, resilience isn't about avoiding the fire. It's about being forged by it. Each setback holds the potential to make you stronger, wiser, and more focused. And just like steel is strengthened through heat and pressure, your character is shaped through how you respond to life's toughest moments. Now let's bring it all together. Reinvention is a journey of habit. Let's take one last look at that. Moment of failure, a missed deadline, a misstep in communication, or a project that didn't go as planned. Instead of spiraling, you pause and ask, what did I learn? What can I improve? What's my next right action? Maybe you realized you needed better time management, or that team check-ins were missing, or that certain obstacles could have been anticipated earlier. And now, you take action. You create a structured plan for your next project. You build in review points. You start catching problems before they grow. That's growth in motion. But here's something just as important. Resilience also demands self-compassion. It's easy to fall into self-criticism when things don't go your way. But the Stoics would remind you, harshness toward yourself isn't strength. Kindness is. When you acknowledge your effort, even when the outcome falls short, you give yourself room to improve without shame. And that's what allows you to keep going. Growth is forged through fire. Think of bouncing back like the forging of steel. It doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in intensity, in heat, in pressure, in moments where you're tested. Your challenges are that fire. And your response, that's what shapes you. Stronger, sharper, more capable. So the next time life knocks you down, pause, take a breath, and say to yourself, this is my chance to grow. I will rise, I will learn, and I will move forward, because every setback is an opportunity in disguise. And with each recovery, you don't just go back to where you were, you step closer to where you're meant to be. Reinvention happens in small, consistent steps. Reinvention isn't about waking up tomorrow and becoming someone new. It's not some overnight dramatic makeover. It's a quiet, steady process, a daily choice, one small habit at a time. The Stoics knew this. They taught that real transformation happens from within, when your actions align with your values, your priorities, and your potential. The 10 habits we've explored today aren't just productivity hacks. They're tools for deep, lasting change, habits that help you live with clarity, resilience, and intention. From starting small, to making time for what matters, to facing change with courage and bouncing back stronger. Each one is a stepping stone, a foundation, a part of your journey toward becoming the person you truly want to be. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. Let go of the pressure to be perfect. The Stoics didn't expect flawlessness. They expected effort. And every time you choose to take even one step in the right direction, you're building momentum. You're investing in a better, braver, more grounded version of yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you adopt these Stoic habits, you're not just changing your routines, you're changing your mindset, you're rewiring how you approach setbacks. You're learning to find peace in uncertainty. You're shifting your life from reaction to intention. Looking ahead, your 2025 starts today. So now, as you prepare to step into 2025, ask yourself, what habit can I begin cultivating today that will move me closer to the life I truly want tomorrow? Start small, stay consistent, trust the process, because reinventing yourself isn't a one-time event. It's a journey, one that unfolds moment by moment, choice by choice. And when you walk that path with clarity and courage, there's no limit to what you can create. Thank you. Call to action. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If any of these ideas resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. Which habit do you feel ready to embrace? Which one challenged you the most? What's your first small step? Let me know in the comments, or share this video with someone in your life who's also striving to grow. Let's make 2025 a year of meaningful transformation together. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and live with intention. You've got this.